Welcome to the next episode of the AV Experience. I'm your host, Ryan, joined by the ever beautiful Ben Goff from Cinema Bureau. And we're going to be talking about demo clips today. This can be a little bit controversial. This can be, everybody has their favorites. And I think enthusiasts especially, I'm not saying that Ben and I are better at this, because I don't necessarily think we are. I think a lot of it comes down to just think and broaden your horizons on demo clips a bit. I think a lot of people, and Ben, I think you'll agree with this, have a tendency to try and be as bombastic as possible when they're showcasing their system, which is fine in certain circumstances. But in some others, all you're showing is bing, bada, boom, all the bings, the bangs, the flan, and you're only showing one part of the dynamicness of what a lot of systems can do. And in some certain situations, certain systems can be one-hit wonders, and that's okay. But I think it's more important to show a breadth of different content, especially in good rooms, that can show what rooms are really capable of and what that content isn't all just about being loud.
Yeah, I guess the decision of what to play starts with who you're playing it for. Like
Yeah,
I would
that's fair.
play very different things to different people. So depending on where we are, who I'm playing to, that's going to completely change what those clips are. And I think kind of maybe before we talk about what clips, and we've got a whole load of clips we're going to run through and why we like them, but I think it's kind of important to understand why we use them for different people, what the purpose of that demo is. So I would say, like, if you're an enthusiast and you've built a room and you've finished it and your friends are over, like the purpose of that demo is it's to show off, right? It's a bit of dick swinging.
It's a
Look at how
measuring
great my
contest. Yeah.
you are showing off. Look how great my room is, and that is absolutely cool, right? That is like I bring friends here to Foundry, and we will, before we watch a film, I will show some silly clips that are bombastic, and then we'll watch a film, right? But I'll use very different clips to a family who are coming for a demo with their kids, or if someone's flown in from another country and I've got an hour with them, I'm not just going to throw guns and bangs for an hour at someone and then they leave. Like that's not useful. So as a professional, like we'll have a difference. So I don't necessarily do demos for clients in the scene. Like I wouldn't really call it a demo because it's not. It's different. So
It's a journey.
right. We would probably call it immersive discovery. So we have a very specific structure of how we build rooms that starts with discovery, then we go into engineering, design. The discovery is really important because that works out what we need to build. That's the goal of the system. So if I'm with a client, if I've got an hour with a client, I need to learn as much as I can in that hour. Like it's not just about showing off. If they're already in our demo room, hopefully they already know what we're capable of. It's unlikely somebody has turned up at Foundry without knowing what we're capable of, because they've probably got on a plane to be here. Most of our work's not in the UK. So they know what we're capable of. I don't need to show off. I need to learn things like how much bass do they want? Like how much do they particularly drawn to spatial resolution, like being completely enveloped? How big a screen do they like? Like if we do scope, do they want it moved down? Do they want it centered? Like, because we might not mask it evenly. So I'm learning a lot about the client and their likes and dislikes rather than showing off. And that's completely different to what I would do with friends. So yeah, that's fun because that means that we've got a whole load of clips here that you wouldn't use all of these for the same person.
No. There's
Right?
some repeats in here. There's some that, depending on their leanings for violence and things that you may not use, we have loads of different scripts because as terrible as it is to say, we're judging people, and what we choose to play them, we wanna make sure that we play what they like. So we're judging to try and play to their taste because we don't wanna play something we're talking professionally here, that they are not going to enjoy or that's immediately
Right.
going to turn them off, and when they do get turned off, it's very difficult, if ever possible, to recover from that. So that's when Ben and I are saying that it's coming from a professional aspect of, hey, this is how we're doing demos for professional clients, not necessarily. And the majority of people that are watching this stream, a lot of them are going to be enthusiasts. So just
Mhm.
take that with a grain of salt. It was very interesting, though, how similar a
Yeah.
lot of our clips are. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of them enthusiasts are gonna like a lot of these, hopefully. We're gonna list these after the stream. We're gonna have to go back because Ben and I have some others to go through,
Yeah.
and we're gonna put them with timestamps. Now, the timestamps we're listing are from Kaleidoscape, so I cannot promise that they're going to be exactly the same on something like a disc release or a streaming release, but we're gonna talk about this is probably gonna be a longer stream, and we're gonna talk about why we like each scene. Not really specific things, but why we like them and things that you can notate for your own system showcases. And it's not some of these things are not just about showcasing the system, but they can be about finding both things that your system is really good at and things that your system may not be the
Yeah.
greatest at. Because there are a couple that I don't think people are going to think about. And mainly because everybody thinks demos are all about in your face loudness and booms and explosions and bass, which is great. It's a lot of fun, but if you got a system
Yeah.
that can do the complete opposite of that, it can also be just as jarring.
And the list we've picked are all predominantly, not all, predominantly, they're flattering. There's not a lot in this list that we've come up with that is really low, poor quality, and we're proving, okay, we can even make rubbish content good.
No, I don't
Most of
think
what we've
there's
got is
any of that,
flattering.
is there?
Well, we've got some really old stuff. So there's some stuff in here that's
Mm,
1080p that was made 30 plus years ago, I
yeah,
guess.
but you're gonna tell a client that on those, "Hey, don't focus on the video. It
Right.
can still be fun, but you're gonna indulge
Absolutely.
on the audio."
Which actually reminds me of another one that's not in our list yet, but
Well, we can talk
I
about it.
used to use that I had a terrible copy of. But yeah, it's funny. So, like, I joke, I talk to MFP a lot. And for anybody that doesn't know, when I say MFP, that is Adam Pell's official name. So that you'll work out what it stands for. But he has tracks that he will not, like, in his handover. So he'll do like a 5-day calibration and then he's handing a system over. And you joke with him and he's like, hell no, there's no way I'm playing that. Because he just knows it's so unflattering. And at
Mhm.
that point, you really want to show the client how great their system
And
is.
it's funny that some of the clips that he uses, because 'cause we've sat in a lot of MFP calibrations, like, sitting in with him, and some of the stuff that he uses for calibrations, you look at and go, "Why?"
Right. Stuff that you wouldn't want to,
No,
you wouldn't sit and listen to at home for sure. But
no.
he's listening to them because they tell him something specific
Very
about the system.
specific things, yes.
Um, we've picked all film clips here, but later I am going to open up his playlist. I've got a playlist that is a lot of his audio
And
calibration, and we'll talk about some of the 2-channel songs that he plays as well. That's
and
really
the
interesting.
stuff that we're listing is not you're not listening for one specific thing. I'm not listening for like, "Oh, you can hit this one
Right.
note in this octave at this time." We're not that's not what this is about. These
Well,
are
we are with Blade Runner.
okay, yes, but that's not what this is about. These are
No.
showcases for systems in different ways, showing a breadth of a system's capabilities instead of hammering everybody with anything under 100 hertz. So, the first one that everybody knows, and I don't think you and I really like, is Ready Player One,
Yeah, so
The Race.
hey, we've started with this on this list. We've written a list and we've broken them into some sections. This is not what I would use as a first track when I sit down with a client.
I
It's
don't think
first
I
on
would
this
use
list.
it unless it was requested.
Yeah, this is something I would show to friends who aren't in the hobby or the
Sure,
profession,
it's
right? I
fun,
wouldn't
it's
show it
easy
to
to
a dealer.
understand.
I wouldn't show it to an enthusiast because they've probably seen it 100 times. They're bored of it. They know what it can do. But for a non-enthusiast that's not necessarily a film buff, that doesn't know what a cinema is capable of,
Mhm.
this does a lot in a short period of time.
It does, but I don't know how much it's actually doing really well.
Spatially, it's great.
Spatially, yeah, there's stuff going on all around you, and
So
funny, I
we
was
should probably
talking
say what we're talking about because I'm not sure we have we?
the race.
So this is Ready Player One, the first race scene from Ready Player One. So what I do like about it, and it's actually an interesting thing of when Atmos kind of works well, there is a point where Kong is chasing down on you and breathing, kind of breathing down the back of your neck. And it should sound like he is above and slightly behind you. If he
Mhm.
sounds completely behind you, it's not working. If he sounds like he should be in this fairly scary, like you should sense that he's above you. And it was a track that we had, I guess, in terms of Atmos content, we had before a lot of these others. It
Yeah,
was a good Atmos mix. It's very loud. It's
it is
mastered
very loud.
it's mastered outrageously loud. It absolutely clips. So every time anyone tells me that Hollywood movies are not mastered, like they're all mastered with headroom, they never use every last dB. Well, yeah, that's not true because Ready Player One absolutely clips main channels and subs. It is mastered to the absolute
And
limit.
it also does not go as low as people think it does in the frequency range. This is one that I always hear, "Oh, man," when there's that stomp from the T-Rex, "Oh, it gets super low." It's no lower
Mm.
than the majority of other content.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a deep infrasonic. It's not
No,
there to demo that. It's high octane. It's bright and colorful.
absolutely.
There's a lot like spatially. There's a lot going on. So like if you've got 5 minutes to impress somebody who's never been in a good home cinema before, it's a quick way just to kind of, oh my god, I didn't know that you could do that. Done. Like that's it. Move on. So, but it's overplayed, right?
But what's your favorite part of the scene?
Hmm.
I have a specific point that is my favorite, and it's not probably what people are going to think.
No, I guess when he goes sideways under the truck and he's hanging out the
Ah,
door, getting the
yours
coins, and
is
it's
the
ding, ding, ding,
exact
ding, ding,
same
ding.
as mine.
Yeah, that's a good like.
Because that is something that will showcase where a lot of systems are gonna have problems. You're
Right,
not gonna get that really high pitch clanking noises. The coins come in, they're gonna clip, and the
right.
speakers are gonna compress. So, that is my favorite part of that funnily enough, that's my favorite part of the entire scene.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I think you said it right at the start. It does nothing exceptionally well,
Mm-mm.
but it does a lot of
It's a
things.
jack of all trades,
Right.
is the best way to put it. It's
So
not a
we'll put
master at anything, but it
yeah,
is
it's quite near the
fun.
start of the film. We'll put this in the timestamps and stuff in the description once we're done, so you'll be able to find it. But I expect most people watching this know that scene. Um,
Have you seen this movie?
War of the
The
Worlds.
new one with Ice
Oh
Cube.
no, I haven't actually.
Okay,
No.
if you're ever in the mood to waste an hour and a half of your time, it is quite possibly the worst movie I have ever
God.
seen.
Okay.
Like, it's so bad, it doesn't know what it is. So there's some really bad movies that know they're really bad, that quality-wise are worse than War of the Worlds, but they know they're bad, and they're so bad that they're funny, and they know that, and they do certain things to enhance that. War of the Worlds, I don't think knows that, and it is really, really bad. I would encourage you just to have the experience. We should actually talk to Tom and the rest of the guys in our other group and tell
Yeah.
them, "Hey, go watch this movie," because I wanna hear what people think about. I've already
So
seen it. I've already
so
seen it.
now it's not on our list, but now you've talked about a film which is in that way that's bad and doesn't know it. I'm going to upset some people because it is great demo material. And I mean, enthusiasts, I don't think anybody who loves film loves it. I think people who love AV love it because it's beautifully shot and there's some great audio in it. But Lucy is trash. Let's be honest. It's a terrible movie.
It's not a great movie.
The whole premise of it doesn't make any sense.
It's a fun movie.
Sure. But it just doesn't work, right? On so the cut scenes at the start away to the Serengeti, did they just forget about that storytelling device in the second half of the film? Like, they add nothing. They're there for no reason. They don't reference back to them.
It's a fun movie. It's one of those that's fun. I have like one of my favorite movies that if I was still of the age when cable, and we'll get back to the demos here in a second, if it was ever on, Pacific Rim is one of those. It's a terrible movie. It's not good, but it's fun. I enjoy watching it. It is a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And its effects are really good. Lucy kind of falls into that same vein,
right?
Of it's fun. And some of the movies, there's actually quite a few of them in our demo list that are fun, but they're not objectively good content.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in Lucy, for demo, we would jump straight to the final transformation is the K-scape scene name. It's at the 99% ticker where it opens straight with Morgan Freeman in the all-white room. Everyone's in lab coats. And one of the reasons we use that as a demo, because this is important, I guess, to explain why we use some of these clips. So we've got a Barco Nerthus that's got 32,000 lumens. We can run that thing, if we choose to, at 500 nits. Now, often we will have, being part of a conversation with a client of, we can push this to 500 nits. You probably don't need that. You may not even want that, but I'm going to show you what this thing can do. You cut to an all-white room at 500 nits. You find out pretty quickly if the client likes a bright image or not.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that showcases it is interesting contrast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have super bright and super dark on the scene at the same time.
Yeah. And then it's beautiful. Like that whole section is beautiful. You go out into daylight. She has the sun on her face. Mm-hmm. It looks like bright sunlight. It's bright enough to be like somebody actually out in the sun. Then it goes out to, you see the planet with, I guess, there's auroras around it and stuff. Like, colors are beautiful. Contrast is wonderful. The peak white is full, like it's full scale white. So yeah, absolutely. Like it's not a film I ever need to see again, but
yeah,
I do use that scene in most demos. That's probably one of my most used scenes.
Really?
Yeah, just because like with almost any client that's here, mm-hmm. we want to show what really high brightness does. So it's my go-to, be it like for most clients, no matter what we're trying to show, because I'm trying to learn what they do and don't like, it's useful.
Do you have the Art of Flight?
Yes, whether it's on the K-scape currently, we have got it.
I hope it's on there because I think they removed it.
Then it probably isn't downloaded onto our server currently.
Look, so it's SDR, but when you turn it up to 500 nits, oh boy, is it magnificent. Mm-hmm. It feels like you're on the mountain snowboarding with those guys. It is. It's
amazing. I know somebody did check out. So when we talk about contrast, some of these films will be really good for this, and we'll have some examples in a bit. That contrast ratios that are published are challenging because absolute on-off is not really useful unless it's the opening scene of Star Wars. It's black with 3 stars on it.
Or you're really hyper-focused on black bars.
Right.
And even then, when the scene's super bright, it all comes down to intrascene anyway.
Yeah. So infinity to 1 black, contrast, great. It's not actually usable. ANSI contrast is a 50% average picture level. The way it's tested is very specific, but it's a lot brighter than most real scenes. So somewhere around 5, 6, 7% APL is actually where a lot of content lives. And that's where contrast is most important. Somebody did actually get the figures for Art of Flight, and one of the bright. I mean, it's just snow all the way through, right?
Oh,
So
it's
it
super
is.
bright.
Yeah, it defies whenever anyone's like, "Oh, films are only 5%." You go and watch that
Okay.
because it's not.
It's
And
like
even that,
you're there.
yeah,
I remember
even that
turning
with
that
all that
on in my
snow.
room with the Griffin all the way up, and it was like we were outside in sunlight in a
Yeah,
full
right.
dark room.
Even that, I think, probably falls. I'm certain it falls under ANSI. It's under 50% APL.
Mhm.
I think it's like 25-30%, and
But man, is it bright.
it's so bright. But across the whole duration of it, it's still. So yeah, that's an interesting thing for showing what the projector can do. Right, that really bright.
Okay. So next one is one that is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. I really like this, and anybody that's seen a lot of our streams with Jonathan knows this. A Quiet Place. Just magnificently done, and it emphasizes the complete opposite of what a lot of people use for demos, and that is quiet.
Yeah, yeah. Quiet Place is interesting, isn't it? Because noise, generally, all of the sounds are essentially another character in the film.
Mhm.
Like the noise and absence of are such a key part of the storytelling. Um, I have a very specific scene that I would use in Quiet Place. It's not a scene. So let's put it this way: it's one of our scripts is called "No Death." It wouldn't, even though no one dies in this scene, it definitely doesn't go in the no death section. This is not kid friendly. This is
Is
not
that
for
the one
everyone.
with raccoons?
I would go to the basement when she steps on the. Well, I'm not going to spoil that. She's walking down the stairs.
Oh, you're
With
talking about the
the
typical red light emergency.
red light emergency.
Yes.
Correct. We call it Mind the Step because we've actually changed Kscape's start and end point.
Yeah, some of Kscape's start and end points are really bad.
I think so. So the great bit of that, I'm gonna mention it. If anyone's squeamish, right, don't watch the start of this scene. She steps on a nail and it goes clean through her foot. She drops what she's carrying. It's a vase. I forget what she's even got in her hand, but she drops it and it
I
smashes.
don't remember what it is.
But it's deep, like it's visceral. It's not like the lowest thing in the world, but it is deep. As like right at that moment, there's this deep note that plays, and Quiet Place for a film that's so quiet in many parts has actually got really good use of infrasonic. So it's not the very deepest and it's not like bombastic, but there's some unease. Like it makes you feel kind of tense and uncomfortable.
There's a lot of anxiety
Right.
in that movie.
Anxiety, that's the word. So that's you need that depth. Like there's something special. So that film comes alive with really low, like it's definitely sub 20 hertz. Like the tension, the pressure it creates in the room. It must be terrifying in your room, I'm certain.
It is, but the thing my room lacks that your room really excels at is my projector's in the room.
Okay, right.
I'm
Yeah.
in a pseudo hush box, but it doesn't eliminate all of the projector noise.
Right.
That is the one drawback to the experience center is the projector. I can't fix it. So I don't have quite when the projector's on the noise floor that you guys do.
Sure.
The noise floor in that room when the projector's off is magnificent. Like it is unbelievably.
Yeah.
But when the projector's on for content like A Quiet Place, where you're going, and the next one we'll talk about, when you're going to full quiet, it doesn't bring the same level of anxiety because there is some background noise.
Okay.
You do
Yeah, I get
lose
that.
a little bit of the immersion. But that particular content, I really like demos that tell stories. So if
Yes.
you can encapsulate almost an entire story within a demo clip, I feel like it is a lot more immersive than just showing something that is, hey, watch how loud this can get or
Right.
watch all these gunshots. And some of the scenes in here are, but I really like what I'll say full story clips.
Yeah. And certainly if the client we're with, this is a suitable thing to play with them, or it could be a dealer that's here that we're doing consultancy for, that they've seen these things before, so that's a bit easier. But if I use this clip, we're definitely going to something lighthearted afterwards. Like,
You have to.
you do not need to just bombard someone with anxiety clip after clip. So I would probably be breaking out of that into like maybe a song or something complete, like an animation, something completely different. Just like, you've built that tension, you need to break it. You need to give the person actually a
lot of what
respite.
doing demos is very similar to doing a wine tasting. You have to add a palate cleanser.
Right.
It's necessary because, and this is the other thing that a lot of people don't think about, is your ears will compress over time. They're gonna start shutting. You're gonna have to turn up volumes to make them sound equally loud if you're demoing at something like what we'll call reference. Um, you have to structure the demos in a way that is most beneficial for the person taking everything in. So for me, it's starting quiet and then building and building and building so that you're not compressing, or
Right.
or you want to add a palate cleanser in order to give people a break. And then you don't want to just hammer them with the same types of content because then things get lost. But if you're
Yeah.
jumping from, say, After a Quiet Place to something animated, say, and we'll get to these later, but say like Encanto or Wild Robot or Planet Earth that isn't animated, but it's a totally different type of content. It can be very beneficial for the people taking it in, whether they're friends, whether they're clients, whatever they
Yeah.
are. That can be hugely helpful.
So your favorite bit of that scene?
My favorite bit is probably the worst bit when she's in the tub and then she
Right.
can't handle the pain anymore and then screams. It is the epitome of what a climax should be in a story. It brings everything to a head, and then everything starts coming down from there because then the fireworks go off, and then they're starting to fix
Yeah.
the issue of take out the monsters and stuff. And that is the climax. And the director who actually stars in the film did such an amazing job with how that scene is portrayed. And she did such a great job of how that
Right.
scene is acted. It it's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite demos. I never get tired of it.
So Dan the man has just actually mentioned that I think what I love about that scene specifically is the clock, the timer that's ticking. And they absolutely exactly as he's just said, like in some systems it's lost. And that's when noise floor is really important because it is subtle. It's generally panned hard left.
It's
So it's
hard
not an
left.
Atmos object, it's locked to a speaker. So it's panned hard left. It's in the left surround and it basically
Yes.
doesn't really move. But it is subtle, but obviously before it goes off, that ticking, and that's building that tension. Certainly the first time you see it, it's wonderful. Like this really subtle building tension from it before it goes off. And you can tell a great system from a not there in terms of noise floor and like how it resolves subtle details. It's on some systems it's just wonderful, like such a small tiny detail, but it's beautiful.
Yes, it's really good. All right, enough about Quiet Place.
Right.
Another one, and we didn't actually mention this. Superfly brings it up, and I thought about mentioning it, and then I forgot. Gravity,
Yeah.
one of the first, and still one of the greatest Atmos pieces of content ever made. Gravity is phenomenal, and Superfly actually notes, and this is something a lot of people don't think about, the noise floor in Gravity is a big deal because there's a lot
Yeah.
of quiet in Gravity. And the less noise you have in a system, the more there's a lot of anxiety in Gravity too. The more anxiety that gets induced, and it goes right along with the Quiet Place. But
Yeah.
pivoting now
You know,
to something that is totally not quiet. Did you have something to mention about?
no, I was going to say I love In Gravity. You know, it won awards for its sound for a reason. I love the way that they pan vocals. You
Oh,
know, almost every film, everyone's, you know, the center channel is where all the dialogue is. But the way
it's
in that
so good.
opening 10, 15 minutes where the vocal is panned, so radio chatter is coming from a different place to
When the emergency's happening and they're flying around,
yeah,
and radio messages are coming, it induces panic.
it's amazing.
Oh, it's so good.
Really, really well done.
So good. Now, complete polar opposite from quiet, and I'm just going through your list in order. Fury. Fury is I have to be very careful about who I show Fury to. I'm getting more careful. I wasn't as careful when I first got into this industry as I am now. But Fury is one of those that you've got to be careful because, oh boy, is it violent. And there's cursing in it. The loudness isn't really an issue, but the violence can be. But Fury,
Right.
not only is it loud, it's complete opposite of Quiet Place. I really liked it on Kscape before they added the Atmos demo. I still
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
like it, but I liked the 5.1 or 7.1 demo because it showcased you don't have to have an Atmos mix in order to have a good auditory experience. There's 7.1 mixes. Christopher Nolan's notorious for this because he doesn't use Atmos that are phenomenal. Interstellar, which we'll talk about later, is one of them. It is not Atmos, and it is amazing. All of the Christopher Nolan Batman series, not Atmos. Amazing.
There are many, many Nolan films could have made this list.
Tenet. I mean, there's just...
I love the way Tenet's done. I love the complaints people make of Tenet, and they don't exist in systems we build.
No!
I love Oppenheimer. There's so many.
Everybody, there's the complaints that I hear about Tenet, and Tenet's not in this list. I don't have any problems with them, but I understand why people run into
It's the same as Bane. And actually, I was just watching one of the Batmans a few days ago. I was doing a demo with a friend actually, and he asked for it. So we had one of the Bane scenes, and of course you can't really hear what he's. I mean, actually, the dialogue was still really clear in our room, but he's wearing a mask. Of course, it's not crystal clear. The Tenet is exactly the same.
Yes.
So yeah, there could have been plenty of Nolan.
To be clear, guys, this isn't Ben and I are not trying to say, oh, you got to spend X amount of money to get this. It's what we're trying to instill in people is if you're running into issues where you can't hear or understand something, the majority of the time, it's an issue with the room.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of deviate here a little bit from the content. People, I see this all the time on AVS. What it typically is, what happens in the AVS threads is I'm having difficulty understanding content. And the universal response to that is, I got to buy a different center channel.
Yeah.
That's not really the correct. It can fix your issue. But typically what they're going to do is they're just going to turn it up.
Yeah, and the problem with just buying a new center channel is, and I'm going to whinge because I always do about data we get from manufacturers, but if you don't know what your current center channel does in terms of its dispersion characteristics, its frequency response properly, and you just buy another one, what do you think you're going to solve if you don't know what was wrong with the old one? How do you choose a new? It's ridiculous. So yeah, the idea of just buying, oh, I can't hear my center channel, I can't hear dialogue, buy a new, no.
Well,
right.
Not only is it not knowing what your center channel does, it's knowing what your center channel's frequency response is at your seat. Like, what are you actually hearing? Because it's my point of saying that people just go buy a different center channel is typically the issue is not the center channel, though it can be if you're overdriving it and that happens frequently. The issue is your room.
Yeah.
You're running into reflections that are masking or creating distortion that's making things hard to hear.
Yep.
And I want to put the caveat in because I'm arguing with somebody made a comment. I want a 3D bubble for 2-channel sound. And my comment was, well, you need to deal with the room before you deal with speakers because you're going to want things like reflections to create that 3-dimensional bubble all the way around you. And then I immediately had people that came in and said, well, are you telling him to go listen in an echo chamber? No, that is not what I'm telling them, and that tells me that you've never designed a room.
Yeah,
But it means that the reflections in the room are going to dominate your experience, and if you don't take care of the room, any equipment you put in there is not going to be able to perform to its most idyllic level.
100%.
So, uh, Tenet, I never had any problems. Batman never had any problems. You just have to think about and go back
Yeah,
and look, hey, why am I having these problems?
100%. And I think, as we said, a lot of these scenes flatter systems. What we haven't done is that kind of MFP job of choosing things which show where the faults are. And Tenant and Batman would both be great things to use if you're looking for things that need work.
Sure. I think
And that's probably why they're not on this list.
Quiet Place is actually one that I really like for finding rattles because the first stomp of the monster on the upper floor when he's getting ready to come down the stairs highlights room rattles. Rooms rattle at that when that happens.
Right.
And it allows you to think, oh, I probably need to screw some things down in my room. It's a great one for that noise floor. Tenant's
Yeah.
great for but Fury, I really like it because when the tank shells come by in the very beginning, you not only are they loud and they will cause, if you're listening loud, a lot of speakers to compress. They fly by and use
Right.
a lot of the surround speakers very, very well to create a sound bubble around you. It also has a lot of infrasonic noise, or it actually does have quite a bit of infrasonic noise when the tanks are moving from the engines and the tracks. And it is another one that really showcases, and my favorite for this we'll talk about later, control. I think a lot of rooms, when they get
Right.
into these low frequencies, have a tendency to get out of control. And it's a great one to highlight for people if you're demoing, if your room does this really well, how in control your room stays when those infrasonic noises are taking place, meaning
Right.
not room rattles, but the subs sound controlled, right? The sound sounds controlled. It's not out of control. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like
It's that
it's all over the
overhang, isn't
place.
it? Right. Bass. People get really confused about what good bass is because often they've not heard it. I know that sounds silly, but I don't think many people have heard really good type bass. And it's that overhang, that kind of bloom of, if that sound is supposed to have dissipated quickly, it
Mhm.
needs to dissipate quickly. If
Yeah.
it hangs around the room and the room is still like, if it just booms and reverberates and that, like, and Fury has got enough going on with enough difference in level, things whistling by you, that placement should be right, the duration should be right, and you'll learn pretty quickly. Well, if you hear that in a great room against a good room, you can tell pretty quickly which is which.
Yeah. So Fury, I really like that one, but man, is it violent. The next one goes back to Quiet Place. And this one, I don't think a lot of people would think about. I really like this movie. This is a very polarizing movie for a lot of people, especially Americans,
I'm
but
going to say it's one of my favorite films of all
it
time.
is a very good movie. And I'm the type of person that I do not watch trailers. I do not read anything about movies. I know nothing about new films when I go into them. I Civil War was not what I was expecting. I went into it thinking this is gonna be a war movie. It was
Right.
not.
And so we need to make sure this is Alex Garland's Civil War, not Iron Man Marvel stuff, right? So this is was it 2024? It's a fairly new film.
24 sounds right.
It's certainly not too old, right? So it's not the Marvel Civil War. This is Alex Garland's Civil War on the A24 studio, which
And A24 has been hitting them out of the park, haven't
right.
they?
And this is the thing: is A24 will often put out films that might not have been made by other studios, and this is
I think
so
most of them,
polarizing.
not
Right.
some, most of them. And
Sure.
you've got Warfare, hugely polarizing movie. You've got Covenant, polarizing movie. You've got Civil War. You've got What was
Oh,
it?
I
If
mean,
I had legs,
their
I mean,
their
they're just
collection. You have to go back and look at their collection to realize how vast it's become. Like they're no longer a small studio. They are turning out
no.
year after year some of the best films.
But
So
you know what?
Heretic. We're going to talk about Hugh Grant in a bit because Hugh Grant has had a resurgence, and God, is he incredible.
But you know what? I think a lot of movies that A24 puts out get overlooked.
Yeah,
They're not as publicized as others, and they are very I've said this word a few times already. They are very polarizing films. You're either
right.
gonna love them or you're going to hate them. One of them
Yeah,
that I love that's not a demo movie, but we're talking about A24 here is I think it's A24. If I had legs, I'd kick you. I'm pretty sure that's A24.
I
Let me
don't think I've seen it.
oh, I'm getting more into, like, really dark dramas, and let me hold on.
So you find that, and I'm going to keep talking about what I love about Civil War.
Yes.
So the reason it's polarizing is really evident in the first 5 minutes, and it the difference between why I love it and I know a lot of people might not. So, as you said, you go into Civil War thinking it's a war film. It's not a war film. It is a
I
human
mean, it
interest
is,
story.
but it's not.
Yeah, it's a human interest story about some photojournalists during a war. The war is not the topic. It is about the journalists during a war, right? So if you're expecting a war film, you're not going to get one. It's a human interest story entirely that happens during a war. And there is a great opening scene. So the opening dialogue is great. You get the guy who plays the president rehearsing a speech, and the dialogue is it's wonderfully recorded. There's an explosion, and then it's like everyone has tinnitus. Immediately silent, like for a long period of time, uncomfortably silent. Like, and it follows this explosion. If you didn't know better, you'd be sitting thinking, have I tripped a breaker? Like, there is no noise for it's about 40 seconds, maybe.
It's
It's
long.
like it's and it builds this discomfort of like I saw it in I think probably the best commercial cinema in the UK, and like there's still noises, like there were people rustling like popcorn and stuff, and the tension was lost a little bit because of the other people in the room, but it's just this long silence, and then it's broken by the sound of a shutter on a camera, and immediately kind of takes you into this, okay, this is a story about these journalists, not about the explosion. Like they, immediately it just frames where this story's going, but it's the tension it creates, that silence, and then how beautifully and crisp it breaks it. It's a masterclass in using sound to tell a story, and it really does only work if you can get your room quiet. Like
Mhm.
it only hits as hard as it should do if you get that room quiet.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, I I love it. I think the whole film is incredible. The use of color is amazing. It's vivid. It's bright. It
It's not a
looks
happy
great.
movie.
Yeah, I mean, my friend Adam Keplinger won't watch it with me. So Adam is one of the greats in our industry, an incredible engineer based in Virginia, and I understand why he wouldn't watch it. He was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I live just outside DC. This is all a little bit close for home, so I get it. I get why people wouldn't want to watch it, but it's wonderful storytelling."
If you guys haven't paid attention to A24, encourage you guys to go watch what they're putting out. It is their movies, if you have issues with anxiety, all of their movies are I don't know of any of their movies that are happy. They're usually anxiety-driven, excellent stories, but man, do they do a good job. I have yet to find one that I don't like.
Yeah,
They
I'm just trying to
do a
think if there are
fantastic job.
any that are obviously happy.
If you
Um,
like dramas, Ben, you need to go watch If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
yeah, I
It's
forget. Ah,
I had some friends that watched it and they're like, That movie was too stressful." 'Cause
so I'm going to quickly find it. I'm actually now just looking at a web browser because I'm gonna. Oh, I watched The Smashing Machine recently. I watched that
I haven't
on a
watched that one
flight.
yet.
I don't normally watch films on flights, but that didn't need a big system. It's a quiet dialogue driven film, so I watched that on a flight. Um, I watched a horrendous horror film that honestly, it was one of the few films I've ever seen that actually made me properly uncomfortable. I can't find it on their website now, but I will find it. It was
Is this A24?
yeah, it was
Uncomfortable because of how horrifying it was?
it was so just it was just disturbing. It was so well
Well, they did
made.
what they set out to do. So
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Right. They achieved completely what they were trying to do. It was just disturbing.
all right.
It was
So I'm gonna skip the next two. We'll come back to them because I'm gonna try and stay on the theme of kind of your war movies. 13 hours. A lot of people, I would assume, use this one. There's several great scenes in there, but you highlighted the mortar scene. And guys, just to reiterate, we are going to have timestamps for all of these. Again, they are going to be the Kaleidoscape timestamps, so I can't promise they will be exact, but they will get you in the ballpark.
yeah, so we have probably talked some in the last couple of episodes, maybe not as much, maybe it's something we need to revisit, but about that kind of chest thump, that visceral, you feel like you've been kicked in the liver, like proper deep hit of bass. And those mortars really do that. You know, there's a thump. So if you want that, you know, kind of with your friends showing what the system can do, that scene it's impressive in a, you know, hey, war's not a impressive thing to do. It's not an impressive topic to discuss like that. It's horrific, right? But the way that the AV bit has been done, it's the drama hits home right through the use of that audio, and it's done really well. So again, not something I would show to everyone.
It's not on the G list.
Yeah, right. That doesn't make it into the no death playlist for sure. But it's good. Like a lot of guns, a lot of the big mortars, they just hit hard. There's not a huge lot more to say about it, right? You know what's going to happen just by the name of that scene. You're in the middle of an attack.
Now, one that you mentioned, guns, that's not on our list, but we talked about before we went live, is Warfare. And it's another A24 movie.
It is.
Ben did not enjoy it. But frankly, I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was an excellently well done piece of content. I will not watch it again in its entirety. It's too stressful. Too stressful. But how they did and recorded a lot of the content, there's a scene in there where a grenade comes in a window. And that starts everything off. But then they start actually firing. And there's some M24 saws that go off, and there's heavy machine guns that start firing. And the cool thing about how they recorded it is the proper caliber that was fired, and from the direction it is heard or seen in the content is how they recorded it. So everything sounds very authentic for anybody that's been around firearms for long periods of time. And man, when those machine guns start firing, it hits you in the chest. Like it is thumps as they're going off. And it is a showcase of how loud systems can get, both with bass and higher frequencies without compressing.
Right.
And there's another scene in there, and they actually showcased it a couple times when there's flybys. So they take jets and they fly them by super low.
They are impressive.
The video part of it, I think, was not the most impressive part because it was CGI. But the audio part of it, for how loud and how it does with the Atmos objects, was really well done.
100%. And I guess I probably like it more as a demo than a film. So for me, I didn't get on with the film as a film. I probably wanted it to be an hour longer and tell more build up story of what's going to happen and more consequences afterwards. Like
they drop you into it, don't they?
100%, right? It is. So it's a technical masterpiece. I understand how accurate it is to the reality of that situation. The audio is wonderful, like the positioning of it, the quality, all the detail they've gone to. So as a demo, I can absolutely be on board with it.
Yeah.
it's not a film I need to watch again.
It's not a story-driven masterpiece. It's more of a, "Hey, this is what it felt like to be in this situation."
Right.
That's how I took it. Like, it's absolutely not, "Oh, happy," not even a happy-go-lucky, there's not really a huge plot. It's, "I'm gonna get dropped into a war zone. Things are gonna go wrong. I gotta get out." And that's what this is, and it
Right.
makes you feel like they're there, and I'm not gonna talk any more about it because I think the film is new enough that people need to go watch it. It is, if you have problems with anxiety, do not watch it.
So what when you say that, I googled the other A24 film that made me genuinely uneasy. So it was what Alex Garland did before Civil War, a really low budget. It's described as a surrealist folk horror film called Men, and
I'll have to watch
it,
it.
it's set in a village that's very much like the village I live in. Like there's woodland that could easily be 100 yards from my house, like where I walk my dog every day. So for me, it felt like where I spend time every day. I could easily be in that village it was filmed in, and oh god, it made me feel uncomfortable. Like
Well,
I
when
watched
it's
it alone
unfair,
at
I
like
get it.
2 a.m. on my own at the office. It was unpleasant enough that, I mean, I did watch it, but yeah, it was unpleasant. Like it was too much for me.
No character progression. I don't think that was the point of Warfare. I mean, the point of Warfare was, we're gonna drop you in this, we're gonna make you feel like you're
Yeah,
there, and then we're gonna get you out. That's, there's
100%.
not really supposed to be character
Right.
progression. It's, that's not what they focused on. They focused on the stress and the anxiety.
And
So
and
I,
100%, and I totally get that they delivered what they wanted to make.
yeah,
For it to be a film I'd watch again,
no,
I need that 30, 40 minutes of build up.
build
Why
up.
do I care about
Like
these
Black
characters?
Hawk
Why
Down.
do I
They're
care if they
building it
live or
up, they're
die?
explaining how you're getting connected to these characters, and then they drop you in, and or like, We Were Soldiers, or a lot, they have this buildup, and
Right.
you're getting attached. That doesn't happen in this
Yeah.
piece of content, but that's not its purpose.
And I think part of that difference is that it's a true story. So people going into it may already know the outcome.
Sure.
So it's a bit different, right? You in certainly in theory, you should already as such be rooting for them because you know it's a true story. I kind of just wanted to see, for me, like to film I would watch again, I needed some more development. And
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm 100% fine with the fact that it's a beautifully made film. I just didn't get on with.
Yeah. Okay, so staying with realism, but we don't really have any more war movies on the list. One that gets used quite a bit, that is always one of my all-time favorites, Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah,
Ford
we did
versus,
different scenes here, didn't we?
we did. So I did 7,000 RPM, or 7,000 plus, and you did,
I often will use the, is it meeting Mr. Ford?
yes. So
Which,
yours takes place a little bit before mine does in the actual
yeah,
content. Yours is more story driven. Mine is more adrenaline driven.
yeah, and I think what I like about that scene is it's doing a lot. So there's great dialogue, there's great kind of action, the car sounds and stuff, and it ends it ends with Henry Ford crying,
Mhm.
which is, and then there's that kind of tension between them in the car of like what have I done wrong? But it's kind of just, it just plays out nicely. I kind of find it funny almost, like the way it pans out and they're trying to stop him getting in the car. Like, so I just enjoy it. I enjoy the way that couple of minutes pans out.
Yeah. I'm the same way with the 7,000 RPM. I just like the, if people are into cars, it's a great one to showcase because it hits home with getting the adrenaline going. You're in a race. The sound is excellent. He's coming back from behind. I'm going to ruin some of this for people. If you haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari, shame on you. But coming back from behind, comes back, wins. And I think it's just an excellent piece of content, both visually, audibly, story. That is one of my favorite pieces of content of all
Yeah,
time. Not that demo,
yeah,
but the movie as a whole is
great
excellent.
film, great film.
Great film. Um, One that I actually haven't watched that you put on here is The Gentleman.
Right. So, and it actually came up in the comments a minute ago. Who said it? Let me just scroll back. Somebody made a comment of realizing how good Hugh Grant is.
They did.
So Hugh Grant has had an incredible resurgence to his career, playing roles that would not have been the roles he got 20 odd years ago. You know, he's gone from rom-coms, he's this lovable British cad, to kind of playing a bit of a gangster, or just they're more challenging roles of him and his range. And I love dialogue-driven films. I don't need a lot of action, like beautiful dialogue. So I'm a huge Guy Ritchie fan.
Yes.
Lock, Stock, Snatch, you know, some of my favorite films, just wonderful dialogue. And the opening 5 to 10 minutes of Gentleman is, it can't be understated how good the dialogue in the first sort of 5-10 minutes is. You very quickly go through a scene with Matthew McConaughey, like move through that. That's the very first minute or so. You end up with pretty much a monologue from Hugh Grant that is incredible. Now, do not watch it in polite company. It's yeah, I mean, hey, British people swear more freely generally, right? And
bit.
this is the strongest of strong language. There's no getting away from. Every bomb that can be dropped gets dropped in this monologue. It's strong, but you're almost sitting there for a first kind of minute, like, is that Hugh Grant? Like, Hugh Grant can't speak like that. How dare someone write this dialogue for Hugh Grant? Like, that's not him, but he delivers it incredibly. So, as a dialogue-driven film, the start of that, and this is a great one for anyone that has those difficulties with dialogue. That is a great kind of, like, I don't want to just listen to dialogue driven films for the sake of it, just test the system.
That's all Ben's demos are, is just people talking. Whole thing, just people talking.
There definitely needs to be some just people
kidding.
talking, right?
Of course.
Let's lose some guns and bombs and cars, and let's hear just dialogue. So I'm going to jump to my other just dialogue one. It didn't even make it onto the list, so you're going to get surprised. I mentioned it while we were chatting. Was Empire of Light, a very kind of slow burning, completely dialogue driven film. There is a scene where they end up in a projection room at a cinema, an old film projection room, and they're talking about the joy of film and the beauty of the experience for the projectionist creating the film when everyone's watching back. It's just slow, considered, gentle dialogue. We'll add it to the list because it's not there right now, but they're great ways to, if it doesn't create any emotional response in you, that bit, as a film lover, then, you know, the system's lacking that ability to transmit what's going on. Because
do you get emotional during content?
Yeah, 100%. I'm an emotional person, right?
I am too. I may not seem like it. I'm very stoic, and I can come across as having no emotion at all. But
if you can watch Wild Robot without crying, you're not my kind of person. So
I will cry.
Right.
Last time I got teary-eyed was not a great movie, but Avatar, whatever, Water and Ash, or whatever the new one is.
Fire and Ice, is it? Third one?
Fire and Ash. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about when they're I won't ruin it, but there was a specific point in there that I got emotional because it was well done. The whole movie, not great. That part, excellent. So I do get, especially if there's animals. Oh God, God help me. So
a lot of these we've talked about were audio driven, and now you've mentioned animals. Let's talk about a video specific.
So this particular piece of content has many. We actually have a few of them. The one that I love because it brings a bit of humor and it is a palate cleanser, Planet Earth 2, and all three of the Planet Earths are amazing at this. Frog versus cricket. It's in the jungle. It's about 31 minutes in, and it showcases the green. Its noise floor is pretty low. It's just a creek. David Attenborough is talking, and you just see this goofy frog, and then you see this derpy cricket, and it really showcases sharpness and color. But it's a great pause. It gives your ears a great break and lets your eyes focus on things, because we take in a lot of this content that is audibly amazing, but if you really broke it down and compared it to something like Planet Earth, it's not nearly as sharp. So visual masterpiece, it looks good, but it's not amazing like some of
Yeah.
the
There's
visual
something,
content that's out there.
I guess it's a unique thing, isn't it, of a documentary, but because like specifically because they don't need any CGI. So
No.
there is a whole generation of filmmakers who have not given us the sharpest, the most lifelike images possible, because for a generation the CGI couldn't keep up to that level of realism. So they
Mhm.
kind of dial the whole thing back so the CGI blends in more naturally. And when you don't need to worry about that, a documentary can just be filmed on the finest cameras and it's just pin sharp, beautifully saturated.
Breathtaking.
So yeah, that Frog versus Cricket, I hadn't seen that for a while till you sent me there earlier today. So we also quite often use the third episode, Jungle. Earlier, it's about 14-15 minutes in, and there's a hummingbird. And there's such fine detail. There's like pollen sort of gently wafting through the air, like tiny individual specks that are, a single pixel. It's just pin sharp. It's, of course, easy, beautiful storytelling. Like you've just got Attenborough's voice that is like a warm hug anyway, isn't it? It's just that,
Always.
So, you've got it's a nice kind of opener. Like you're really using it to show what high contrast, well saturated images can look like.
Mhm.
I've not actually seen it on a big direct view LED screen. That'd be really interesting. It looks incredible on a decent projector, like
Mhm.
as a big image. It would be really interesting to see it on a big direct view screen. And obviously you've got basically unlimited brightness and unlimited contrast on a lot of like the best of these big screens. So yeah, they'd be great. But that whole episode 3. Now the scene you picked, that would make it into our no death list. Sure, it's like there is no harm occurs to these
No.
animals, but make sure you don't fast forward to it. Start at 31
If
minutes.
you're going for the no death, it's not
Right.
that it's bad. It's
No.
just if you're trying to showcase a no death.
Start at 31 minutes and you have a nice scene. There's definitely death in the scene before.
Before that. Yeah. Now, you brought up sharpness and CGI kind of getting in the way, not being able to be as lifelike. But when you go full animated, boy,
Right.
can you get super
Totally
sharp.
different.
So there's a few of them on here. And again, they are great palette cleansers because typically they're not as loud. I think you mentioned, if you can get through Wild Robot without crying. I think it was Wild Robot.
Wild Robot's wonderful. It's just a
Oh,
beautifully
it's so
made
good.
film.
It's so good. Some people may differ, but the emotions get going. They did an excellent job. My daughter loves it, and it is amazingly well animated. So
Yeah.
it's great audio, it's great video, it's a great story. I really enjoy it, but it's also got some great demo content.
Right.
And the first one is Task Acquired, and the second one that we both like is Flight Training. So both of
Yeah.
those are great pieces of
I
content.
guess for slightly different reasons, right? Flight Training it's just kind of simple. It's a nice, it's a palette cleanser. It's just a beautiful
Yeah.
images. No, it's not, there's not a lot of drama or anything. Like
No.
it's not doing much. Whereas Target Acquired is a great video dem.
It is, and
'Cause
it's
you've
got
got,
some humor to it when
yeah,
she meets the goose for the first time, and he screams when she takes the picture, and it's just again, I really like telling stories and I like humor, and it's it's a great cleanser, but it's also stunning to look at, and it's
Yeah.
great to listen to.
There's some throughout the film, and I think that scene has a decent amount of it, probably in green, but there's some really, really highly saturated
There are.
reds and greens. Like they're kind of like LED lights and laser light almost things. So the the depth of that saturation is incredible to be
Mhm.
mixed with, you know, the backgrounds all look like oil paintings. That's the stylistic take, but the backgrounds still look quite neutral and natural, being juxtaposed against laser beams and LED lights and stuff. And it's a great display of what really good color saturation
Yeah.
will do. You know, we're fortunate to have projectors that cover the whole. I guess yours does. I think pretty much
Yeah, it
the
does.
whole of Rec 2020. I think you're what, about 98%, aren't you?
We calibrated to 100%,
Right, fine.
so I think we're about the same.
Yeah, I mean it's the same chip. They should basically be the
They
same.
should, yes. So, one that a lot of people don't think about, I'm gonna skip a couple of these. Well, there's 2 that a lot of people don't think about. Your new one that you've just come on to recently is Soul. Not a new movie, relatively new speaking in the industry, but not new like it just came out.
Yeah, I forget who used it. I used to like this a while
Isn't
back,
it funny though, before we get into this, that you pull a lot of demos from, because we've been at a lot of demos that other people use. And
yeah,
you're like, "Oh, I
I
didn't realize this was a thing."
absolutely. I'd completely forgotten about this scene, and somebody used it at ISE this year, and I forget which room it was, so I can't even credit them. Um, but one of the rooms showed Soul, and it's early in the film. It's like 4 minutes in, um, and he has an audition with a little jazz band, and it's just beautifully recorded. It's kind of you know, there's a little bit of emotional driven. It's a bit story driven, but he just disappears into his own world, and it's beautifully recorded. So it's not like, for me, what I'm often needing with demo for, like that discovery point. I'm not discovering a lot about a client on this scene. It's
No,
potentially a break
we're
between,
still in the palate cleanser phase.
right. And we have a few of those. And
And to be clear, we're not playing all of these back to back to back to back. All these palate cleansers are not together. We will
no, absolutely.
insert them when we feel, "Hey, we gotta take a break from fury and somebody getting hit by a
Right.
shell. We need to let our ears decompress a little bit. Here is Encanto, or here is
Yeah.
Wild Robot, or here is the cricket." You know, that's what these are being used for.
So
Still
yeah.
great, and they showcase a different part of the system, but they showcase something so different from the loud and in your
Right.
face that it just gives you a little bit of time to
And
decompress.
I like what you were saying about the journey and the story. My preference would be to use fewer clips, but longer sections of them. So I want to leave somebody having bought in emotionally to that clip, and we'll stop it, leaving them kind of, oh, I want to, you know, I want to know what happened next. I want to keep
Mhm.
watching. Like, I don't want to, I don't like necessarily as many scenes that reach their full arc to the end, because that's kind of a nice place to leave it. I actually quite like leaving you on the edge of your seat, like, oh, I
Oh,
want to watch the next 2, 3, 4,
so
5 minutes. I want to keep
you're the
watching this film.
butthole.
Um, and the palette cleanser are a nice way to jump from those. So you
Mhm.
kind of you leave somebody like right on this, "Oh, I want to keep watching," and then go into Wally.
Yeah.
Because
You know what we should do? Here's a couple things we need to do while I'm thinking about this, and I've kinda started doing this with music. We really need to come up with a combined playlist. I think that would be great for two-channel and multi-channel. But we also need to create, um are you on SIMKL, or, what's the other service where you can track your movies?
no, I
We need
track
to
my
do that.
movies by how much money we've spent with Kscape.
Oh, well, we need to track so that people can see, like, what we're watching, and you and I do this with Jonathan, you and I also need to have, like, a movie of the week that we
Yeah,
watch,
we
um,
should.
and then come back and talk about it, because yours and Jonathan's palettes, I think, are very different, and I think it's great to showcase things that are different. So that's beside the point.
Yeah. So while we have these beautiful animated, Wally is there as this particular scene. So I've got dancing in space. Again,
love
this was
Wally.
used at Expo last year. We'd used it before that, but it just reminded me how good it is. Now, I forget which of the Christie rooms played it. It was either on the Eclipse Gen 3 or it was on the variable contrast ratio demo sample.
I only saw portions of each one of those demos. I didn't see the full.
So it was in one of the two Christie demos, obviously showing how great their black levels are. It's a scene in space with white. Like, you have Wally with a fire extinguisher that is bright white against a jet black background. It's the ultimate contrast ratio demo.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I cried during that movie.
I was about to say it's tear jerking. I mean, we're too soft, aren't we?
I am super soft. I watched Up with my daughter. She loved it. I cry every time with freaking out.
Yeah.
Soul. This is the one animated movie that I think people do not know about. Some of us in the industry do, but most people don't. Ratatouille. I love the movie. It's another tearjerker.
Just wonderful.
Such an amazing movie.
But I need to check which awards they won for this because it did win some awards.
This scene is an excellent theatrical demo.
So I'm
going to let you talk about it.
Yeah. This is a challenge because depending on who you're with, like if you're with an enthusiast who wants some bangs and booms, like this scene in full is long, right? So I like to watch about the first 10 minutes. It's a bit short, maybe 9 of
that is from the start. Demo.
It's a long scene. It's only like an hour and a half film. Oh no, it's not. It's nearly 2 hours. Okay. So it's not like you're watching most of it, but it does a bit of everything. You've got wind rustling around, leaves and stuff. So there's some spatial effects happening. There's breaking glass. There's a shotgun. There's a lightning bolt. But what I love the most in this scene, and it's easy to not notice it if you're not paying attention. So Remy has an inner monologue, and he also talks out loud. They are recorded and mastered and mixed entirely different. So when he talks, it comes through the center channel. His inner monologue is a phantom center from the left and the right. So it feels bigger. Like you feel like you're in his head for the inner monologue, and then the dialogue is the same as every other character talking. It's just a masterpiece. It's so well done.
Not what you would think it would be, but they did a really good job on it.
Yeah, I think it won. It won an Oscar. Did it win an Oscar for best?
I couldn't tell you. I don't follow the awards.
I'm just looking to see what it won. Okay, no, it won a whole load of awards, but I thought it won an Oscar specifically for audio, but it was nominated for original screenplay. Okay, it was nominated for best achievement in music written for a motion picture, and nominated for best achievement in sound mixing, and nominated for best achievement in sound editing. Right. I mean, the Oscars know how good the audio in this film is. It's just so well done.
It's very well done. They did an excellent job. So that gets us through animated stuff. Now we're kind of moving into music, but before we get into music, Hobbit. I don't really like the Hobbit movies. Because I read the books and they're just not the same. They interjected a lot of stuff that is not. I didn't really appreciate, but some of the content is very, very well done. My favorite is in Desolation of Smaug when Bilbo meets Smaug for the first time. That whole scene, and visually it doesn't really hold up. This is one of those movies where the sharpness in 4K is revealed some of the CGI and things that they were trying to hide. Lord of the Rings falls ill to the same issues where as you upscale them, they don't look as good because they're too sharp and they start to look fake.
Right.
So there is a reason why remasters visually and audibly are not always the greatest things. And this movie, really the whole trilogy, falls victim to this. Audibly, though, and it's not bad visually, audibly, Smaug's voice is amazing. And that it's just a dialogue with Bilbo falling down the coins and the treasure pile. His dialogue's really good. Smaug's dialogue is so good. The bass that comes from Smaug's dialogue, 'cause he's a huge dragon, really showcases proper implementation of the crossover point between the subs and the mains. I just really love
So I need to
these.
go back and rewatch it. How is that scene spatially? Like, it takes place in a cave, or where are we at that
It's
point?
in like a treasure chamber, like a
Okay.
huge underground treasure chamber.
Do you get that sense? You getting the
Um,
reverberation of the
I
room?
honestly don't remember. I'd have to
Okay.
go back and rewatch it. It would be nice if it did. You know, one that I did appreciate staying true to the Lord of the Rings series is in Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring when they meet the Balrog and they're in the
Right.
mines of Moria, and the space that you get from that and that you see in a distance. This one did really well for the remaster, at least before they get into and they're falling on the rocks. That one didn't do great, or that part of the scene. But when they're in the mines and when you see the Balrog, oh, funnily enough, when my daughter saw that when she was 5, it's still one of her favorite pieces of cinema ever. Seeing the Balrog hit, I remember her looking at me and getting so excited when that happened.
See, I have this to come. My kids are too young yet to get
Oh,
this.
it's
I'm
so
excited.
good.
These moments, like sharing these moments, I'm excited.
And when the Balrog is hitting the wall bass that permeates through the room, you should rewatch it. It's so good, and
Yeah.
it's so loud. The dynamic range on that piece of content, they definitely turned it up. It's super loud. You should watch that in the Foundry.
And they're all of the series are well made, aren't they? Like
Yeah, The Hobbit is still well
they're
made.
well made movies.
It's
So
not on the same level story-wise as Lord of the Rings at
no,
all, but it's
right.
still well made.
Yeah. So I quite often use a clip actually because it's a simple clip. It's not too long, so it's one of the shorter clips I play, but it shows one of the things that Screen One here does really well. You know, we've got, let's be honest, a big room with a lot of speakers,
Mhm.
and spatial panning is. I mean, I'm not going to call it a party trick because that absolutely downplays how much engineering it took, but the sense of space that room can create is incredible.
Mhm.
And I really like I think it's the middle one of the films. It will be Battle of the Five Armies. That's the middle one of the threes, right? Or is
No, I
that the
think
last
that's
one?
the end.
Okay.
Desolation of Smaug is the middle one.
Okay. So the Five Armies, there's a scene in Cascape. It's called I Am Your King. I think it's a standard scene unless we made it ourselves, but it's about just over 88 minutes in, so an hour and 12 minutes, hour and 22
They're all
minutes.
long movies.
So you're in again like another underground chamber. There's a fire, like a lantern fire burning. It's in shot briefly. You hear it, it's kind of that flickeringness out of shot. But you get like the amount of reverberation from the space.
Mhm.
Yeah. When they speak, when they shout, like it's the echo just goes on and on. Like you're transported instantly out of whatever size room you're in. You are in this huge, great big cavern. Then he starts to go a little bit wild, like the voices replay in his head. So we're now like monologuing. And it's just a bit like Gravity, where they're throwing that dialogue around. Like these different things that people have said to him that he's playing back in his mind are taking place all around him, still adding in that chamber, that cavern type reverb. It's wonderful. It's
Mhm.
as a sense of scale. Like whenever anybody kind of, and we see it, like we see the same comments from people on different places, like, oh, Atmos is a complete waste of time. Right. Go and like let's forget about how Atmos works and the use of speakers and like forget about the technicalities of it. Watch that scene and tell me that it doesn't increase your immersion of being in that space.
It goes back to even 2-channel, hell, even mono. There's good and bad mixes, and the majority are going to be really poor mixes. But when you get one that is really good, that utilizes everything, the entire palette to create that masterpiece, it is unbelievably immersive. And a lot of these demo clips do that very well. Some of the ones we're going to be talking about here very soon encapsulate a lot of this, but especially the music ones, because I think the music ones play on emotion and they do a lot of things very, very well. But I think that's what people forget is just because it's not utilized to its full extent doesn't mean it's not necessary. I mean, there's good and bad painters. There's good and bad digital artists. There's good and bad of everything. And just because there's bad and that's what you've taken in the most of does not mean that the entirety of its capability is meaningless or worthless.
Absolutely.
You just need to focus on the ones that it's utilized really well and hope that we get more of that. Because there are some magnificent pieces of content. I just hope we get more.
Yeah. So we've got, and we'll go on to music. Some of this music that's mastered multi-channel is wonderful. And we're going to, let's
Well, it's all wonderful, but some of it is great.
Before we do this run of music we've got,
there's a few more we need to talk
about Blade Runner. Blade Runner is there for a reason. It's, you know, how your house survives it, right? You know, bring the roof down. It's intense.
Yes, it is.
So
it's a rattle showcase.
Yeah, that will, you know, we have very specific methods for rattle testing a room. You could just put that on.
You could. Not the most efficient, but you could do that.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. Visually you will see a few things. There's a lot of white on black text that will show you.
It's not really white.
No, it's slightly pinkish, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And it always, in the back of my head, I'm always questioning, like, is something wrong with my calibration? But it is slightly pink.
I'm glad you say that, because there have been times I've looked at it and gone, is it meant to be that pink?
Yes, no, it is. It's really meant to be pink.
No, it is.
It is.
And then there's some red text too, but
yes.
And it's subtle.
And it's then just off enough that you wonder if something's wrong.
Right. And then the eye, with a close-up on the eye, and that's wonderful. The kind of fly past of the flying car is wonderful. But the real, from an enthusiast point of view, the star of that is while the eye is on screen, right near the start, and it just hits. I don't actually know how deep it is.
It's like the THX opener where it just keeps getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. Yeah.
And
I'll have to measure it.
So yeah, it'd be interesting. So we've in a research project I did, one of the CD white papers, we were doing some research on crest factor, and it's really easy to kind of, you know, the crest factor in a movie is like 18 dB. So the difference from the highest peak to the average RMS level, it's about 18 dB. Yep, across Blade Runner as a film, if you average it out across that whole film, the peaks to the average level, 18, 20 dB, exactly as you'd expect. It doesn't account for short run, a minute here, a minute there. And crest factor naturally gets lower. Crest factor gets lower as frequencies get lower, like quite naturally. So that opening bass, we have checked it, and there is essentially no crest factor. It's not a square wave, so it's not, it's not less than 3. It's pretty much a sine wave, like with the harmonics and stuff in there. It's as intense and as much energy as basically just playing a low frequency sine wave. It's nuts, and it has some duration. The other one that people talk about, and I know someone put in the comments earlier, it's a sub killer.
Live, die, repeat.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, whatever it's called in your territory because they renamed it, right? But that only exists on the, I want to say on the DVD version or the Blu-ray. It's not on the 4K, right?
No.
They tamed it down.
Too many systems blew up.
Yeah, and it's quite funny. So I did a handover with a client who we'd given him some gas. Let's be honest. He had headroom to go for it, and like quite a long way, like 5-6 hours drive from where I am. So I'd kind of handed the system over, but wasn't entirely finished. And one of the things I hadn't done at that point was put in safety limiters and stop him turning the volume up. And the last words I said to him, because I saw it on his system before I left, was, whatever you do, don't play Edge of Tomorrow at 0 dB. I'll be back next week. I'm going to put safety limits and stuff in, but just do not turn it to 0 and watch the start of that film, because I can't guarantee that we've got that. Like, I'm still doing the calibration. I know it will make it, but I may have left this a little bit hot. And before I've even got home, so it was 5-6 hours. So like 2 or 3 hours later, I just get a text like, "Holy shit!" And I'm like, "You watched it, didn't you?" Like, it's just cheers. It survived. We were fine. But it's like, that's a holy shit moment.
Yes.
And I would say Blade Runner it's
an excellent film.
It's less likely to kill the system, but it's prolonged. So it's more intense over a 30-second. Like, that Edge of Tomorrow hits its really deepest note for a few seconds and it's gone.
Yeah.
Blade Runner runs for like 20, 30 seconds.
But let's talk about another one that runs for a long time. And it's not a sustained note, but it runs for ripping your room apart, and that's Interstellar Into the Wormhole. That scene, and there's a few other ones, but this one's my favorite.
Docking's pretty good too for it.
Docking can be pretty good, especially for spinning around. That one I try not to use in demos because it can give people vertigo. It can make people feel dizzy because you're spinning.
Oh, okay. Not experienced that, but sure.
There is, I think I sit quite a bit closer to my screen. So my field of view is like, I'm 9 feet from a 165. So it can feel overwhelming.
How many bald eagles is that?
You're under 3 meters.
Okay.
From 165 inches.
I've got no idea how big that is.
So
we measure TVs in inches and we measure projection screens in meters. Come on, I don't know.
Hold on. I will get
no, I do know, because I know how big a 98-inch telly is. Okay, fine.
So
it's like 4 of them.
Yeah. And you're 9 feet from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think of this. How many meters am I sat from it against how many meters wide is it? And so when you start telling me in
4.2 meters.
1.2 meters.
No, 4.2.
4.2 wide.
Diagonal.
Okay. Yeah, you're pretty. I mean, I would like to be sat less than 1 times the image width. So like here we have a 4.8 meter screen and you're sat about 4 meters from it in the front row. We're at high 60s in the front row.
Yeah.
Degrees field of view.
Take that THX viewing angle, crumple it up, and throw it out the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do whatever you're comfortable with. That's what
we'll do a viewing angle discussion some point. But the old recommended 40 odd degrees, that's not going to cut it for me.
No.
Or I don't even think my 5-year-old will watch Gabby's Dollhouse at 40 degrees. It's not going to cut it.
No. So
if you haven't seen the Gabby's Dollhouse movie, trust me, it's the most saturated, absolute bonkers ride of color gamut you'll ever see.
Well, I can imagine why she'd want it to be huge.
Yeah.
But Interstellar, along with Underwater, I think Underwater is one of those underappreciated movies. I actually really enjoyed it. Another one is...
So let's just, before we leave Interstellar...
No, I'm giving kind of an idea of what they are.
Right.
They're all kind of the same.
How does Interstellar feel in your room?
Well, I'll get there here in a second.
Okay.
I'll get there. So Final Reckoning, I think it's the second one when they're in the sub and it's spinning, it's falling down.
Yeah.
All of these have a tremendous amount of low frequency. Huge amounts. The issue that a lot of rooms run into is, and I've built rooms before I've learned what I've learned. Ben, I'm sure you have too. The issue that these rooms run into is they get out of control and they create a tremendous amount of low frequency. But and we talked a bit about this with Fury, but this is to a different level. This is to another higher level. They feel like the subs are kind of all over the place. There's a boominess, there's a very high decay time, and there's a lot of compression.
Yeah.
And what that leads to is a lack of immersion. You focus on, your brain starts focusing on, oh man, there's a lot of bass, instead of being pulled into the content. So I heard that from several people, especially with not necessarily Interstellar because it's quite old at this point, but The Final Reckoning 2 and Underwater. Both of those are like, man, this is a lot of bass. And I've heard them in a few other people's theaters and they sounded really loud. And then I put them on in the Experience Center and it transformed from me focusing on how much bass there was to complementing what is actually happening.
Right.
So with Interstellar, what ends up happening is there is a ton of bass, but they've done it in such a way. Christopher Nolan has mastered this in such a way that it feels like your room becomes the ship. And
Right.
the rattles are from the actual metal structure of the ship, and you're in it. That's what it being controlled feels like. And this is not me to say, oh my gosh, your room's not good enough. What I'm saying is they're great tests to get to that level of immersion, because I think that's what a lot of these demos are. They're showcases, and we all want to
Yeah.
get to that level of what can be done. We're just simply showcasing this is why we use them. And Interstellar showcases the immersion level that can be gained through low frequency.
Right. You know, I would say that if it doesn't, if you can watch that scene, you know, at a reasonable level, like at Foundry, we do demonstrate that at theatrical reference level and sometimes louder. And if
Louder.
Peter's here, louder. Done properly, if you don't, like, if you're not drawn into that in a way that you kind of feel like, not that the room's going to fall down, but like in that sense, like you should get a bit of a sense of this is so intense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you're in a ship that potentially is about to fall apart. They don't know what's about to happen, right? It's rattling. It's just going nuts. And you should get every bit of that. Like, it should be not oppressive, but hey, I reckon we've played that at times loud enough that people are almost a bit scared that the room's going to fall down. And now that's all in the recording, right? That is entirely there. That's the rattles, as you say, from a ship. But it starts to get really real. And you can't tell, are these rattles recorded or are these rattles in the room with me? And they're like, are we in trouble here? Or is that in the, and
Mine,
you blur that really well.
When they get through the wormhole and it starts to dissipate, it always feels like the room is going like this as it's letting the energy out. And it's a really strange feeling. But it's in the recording. But it's an excellent piece of content for that reason.
Yeah, the other interesting one you mentioned was Final Reckoning, or is it? Yeah, it is Final Reckoning, isn't it? The submarine section.
Yes.
And that's interesting because, again, that was shown this year at ISE. And I'd watched it with a few people here, maybe the day before we flew out. And yeah, it is interesting, the comments people made of hearing it there in that system against comments people made watching it here with us. And as you say, like, a lot of the feedback after that demo at ISE was, oh, so much bass. And that kind of dominated the, oh, like, I can't believe how much bass that system had. And all these, like, now, my view actually was that didn't have enough bass. Like, that didn't feel like
it was
anywhere
loud,
near as much bass as it was loud, right? But the depth, the control of that amount of bass in that mix, I feel like it probably has more here, but I'm saying probably because you tune out of those specifics when you're actually immersed in it. Like if you're coming out of that scene and all you're thinking is, I can't believe how much bass there is, it didn't hit the right note. Like it didn't, I don't mean that, I mean it metaphorically. It didn't deliver what, like, because you shouldn't be just hyper focused on, oh my God, there's some, like, and if you come out of Interstellar just thinking there was so much bass,
No,
you've not noticed everything else going on around you, which is as impressive, if not more.
I think if you have a demo, if you watch a piece of content and you all of a sudden notice how much bass there is, something's wrong.
Right.
Your immersion has been broken.
Yeah.
Unless you're that type of person that's just you're hypersensitive and critical about the mix and stuff. I get that there's people out there. But if you do get immersed in content and that immersion breaks and you know, there's a lot of bass, something's happened.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And a lot of that is the integration and the how consistent it is through that frequency range and how well it's time aligned, right? Because we've all been in systems that don't have, like, objectively, it's not that much bass, but all you're drawn to is the bass because it probably isn't time aligned well. It's probably boomy. It's like monotonous because you've got one room mode that's dominating. So you're just hearing like this 50 hertz peak and nothing either side of it. And it's hanging around in the room and it's not being and suddenly it's like, oh God, the bass is like just droning and it's so overbearing. But objectively, that's not necessarily that much bass.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a lot more bass, but it's done clean, you notice it less. And hey, I hear this all the time from certain manufacturers. I will name them as I'm normally agnostic and don't talk brands, but it's interesting to talk with Eric at Per Listen, how many new clients they have that email or speak to Per Listen or they go back to their dealer and are like, yeah, the sub sounds great. It's not very loud, is it? It's like, get your SPL meter out. You're listening 6 dB louder than you were before. What you're not hearing is distortion.
Distortion. Yep.
Like, it's absolutely louder than you had your last system. Because it's not distorting, you just don't, like, you think it's quieter because it's not obnoxious, because it's now clean and it's tight. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's much better quality bass and there's more of it. But until you get used to that, you perceive it as less. Mm-hmm. And that's interesting when we hear other people's demos, and the ISC was a case of it. There definitely were people coming out just talking about how much bass that scene had, and that means it didn't deliver what it does when I've seen it in other rooms.
Right. Yep. You got it. So one of your favorites and one of the ones that I really enjoy, Spider-Man. Far from Home, Just an Illusion.
That's fun, isn't it?
It is.
It's fun because it does a lot in not that short a time. There is a risk at the start of it somewhere, not that far in. I think the little droney robot things fire some shots. There's a couple of notes early in it that you expect to have more bass impact than they've actually got. It's not mixed as deep and as loud as you might expect. So there is at the start of that scene, there is an ability to kind of almost be, that bass was a bit underwhelming because it's not that nuts. But then it develops into the next minute or two until actually it's, there is plenty of bass. It just wasn't in that one particular, I think it's a chest thump or a little explosion. It's a bit light. And then it grows and grows. And you've got immersion, you've got things happening all around him. He's fighting himself in shards of glass and mirrors and stuff. That's beautiful because it's deep, dark black on really saturated colors. It goes straight out into bright sunlight. Again, like you cut from this animated world, CGI world into bright daylight. So it does a lot. Visually, it's great. audibly, it's great. It's and it's fun, right?
Mhm. So that's a good demo. I really enjoy it. It encapsulates a lot. I think it's a great story. It's very compelling and immersive, which I think is very, very important. Um, I'm gonna skip over Bond unless it's one that you really, really like.
No, not particularly. I mean, it's bombastic.
It is.
It's yeah, it
I
shows
like that movie. It's just not
right.
one of my
No, we
what
will skip it, but I will say it's the we're leaving scene about 18 minutes in.
yeah.
The bit I do like about it, it actually is really simple. At the end of that scene, before they go off to a train station, there is a church bell ringing, and it kind of
Mhm.
it just plays that spaciousness. It works quite well, but we can.
Alright.
It's not worthy of the rest of.
So the last ones we'll talk about, and honestly, my favorites, I'm gonna skip well, I think it's worth talking about these 2 because they're actually the 2 that get brought up and talked about most in my system. One in particular, Pacific Rim, the first fight, and Saving Hong Kong, and I'm kinda gonna talk about these together. And then the other one is Godzilla versus Kong, the, um, what is it? Round 2 in Tokyo.
Yeah,
So both of those, they're not great movies. I'm gonna be honest. I enjoy them. Like, they're one of those, if they were on TV, I'm gonna go watch them. They're that, and I think I mentioned that at the beginning of this stream. I really enjoy them. They're not great story movies. They're not well acted, but they're fun. They're very
right.
fun. What they are, though, is excellent visually and excellent audibly. Pacific Rim is a visual and auditory showcase in its entirety. The saturation levels, what they did with the audio mix, what they did with the visuals, with the CGI is remarkable with what they're doing in that piece of content, especially those 2 scenes. There's a ton of bass, but they've integrated the bass into making things feel really big. And that's really important. They've used the bass not just to be bass. It's not just there, but it gives you a sense of scale. So what we've talked about through the entirety of this stream is bass when it's done well should add to the immersion and not break it. And it should be utilized to create a sense of something. And in this case, it creates a sense of scale with things being enormous
Yeah,
and how they've done the audio moving around the room with the Atmos mix. It's one of those that is, and it's an early one. It's came out not too long after I think Gravity did. But it was one of the first, I think, 4K Atmos movies, or maybe not one of the first, but early. And it just does an excellent job. Kong or Godzilla versus Kong was one of those shockers for me. Every time it's in the mix, that I do demos for it, everybody always comments on, and you think they're gonna focus on the audio. They always comment on the video
right.
or how saturated things can be and how dark things can be. And this is the antsy or interesting contrast that we talked about at the very beginning that a lot of systems really struggle with. And the industry is getting better. Newer
Yeah,
projectors are getting better, TVs are getting better. Any type of direct view LED wall, they're getting better. But this one, when they're fighting, there's a lot of LED, there's a lot of neon and stuff going on in the city. And it's just very well done. And it encapsulates and grabs you. I can't say immersion because it's not an immersive movie, but you have
sure.
fun with it. Um, so moving past those and getting out of that, music, right? We talked a lot about movies. We've talked a lot about cinematic content, but movies or not movies, but music, and this is how we're going to wrap this up. They're some of my favorite.
Right.
Some of my favorite, some of my actual favorite movies. And we'll start off with one of my favorite movies because this one's actually a movie, A Star is Born. People get sick of Shallow. I love that every time I see it. And it is an amazing clip. It showcases what a system can do. But what you should feel whenever you see any of these, whenever you see any type of music demo, you want to feel like you are there. Not I'm sitting in my theater listening and it sounds great. I want to feel, and some of these really make you feel that way, that I am in the front row and I am listening to that
Yeah.
artist perform that
Absolutely.
particular piece of content. It's tough with some of these, like A Star Is Born, because you're looking at it from on the stage, you're not in the audience, but they do such an excellent job with the Atmos mix and it feeling encompassing while keeping things straight or focused when Lady Gaga is singing. It just does an excellent, excellent job, both visually and A Star Is Born is also great visually for HD. It's a great demo
Yeah.
for HDR because there's a lot of clipping that can happen for a lot of displays when they're handling their own HDR tone mapping. So we actually have used it quite a bit in the past to showcase what Envy can do to clean up a lot of that clipping that happens in the video part of that demo. But you actually have three of these. You got Jeff Beck, Mumford and Sons,
Well, before
and
before we leave Star Is Born, so we've got 3 different songs listed there. You've got to pick a favorite. So we've got Alibi, Always Remember, and Shallow. You've got to pick a favorite of the 3.
My favorite one to demo is definitely Alibi, but my
Right.
favorite one to listen to, because I feel like it's more emotional, is Shallow. I feel like I actually feel like the last one is the most emotional, but I just really like the rock side of things more with
Yeah.
like Shallow.
So I don't recall using Alibi at all in a demo. So that will probably change in future.
Mm.
Always Remember Us This Way is
Yeah,
that's probably my go-to demo one. And it is, I guess, maybe the more emotional of
it
them.
is.
And maybe we're using it on purpose. But there's a really great sense with that if you've overdone the bass, like it's a great one to go back to towards the end of a calibration. So there's this real habit of, putting in a big house curve, this big bass contour, get more and more and more bass. And then if you've overdone it and you go back to that and the bass just dominates and it suddenly is like, you'll just sense if it's too much,
Mhm.
and I'm not wedded to the idea that every single film needs the same calibration. I think if you get it right, it should be good for 99% of stuff and you don't need to mess around with it. But if that will definitely tell you if you've overdone the bass, because it gets bloated and overdone, right? So it's just a good sanity check.
It is. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But you have 3 others jumping off of A Star Is Born: Jeff Beck, Mumford and Sons, and Hans Zimmer. The first 2, they're a bit older. They don't look great visually, but they're great in the audio realm.
I mean, Jeff Beck is kind of an ISC tradition. So I'm going to really struggle to say his name, and this is going to be really embarrassing. It's Walter. Oh, I'm going to have to Google it before I even attempt to say it because I'll
Zerby?
get it completely wrong. Sorry?
Zerby?
No, he does the demonstrations every year for Alcons.
Alcons? I don't know what his last name is.
Hutzmuller. I'm going to look it up before I get it completely wrong because I will butcher it otherwise, and that's not fair. But he basically has been in the same place that Alcon stand. It's right out the back of ISC. It's like Hall 8 or somewhere. It's like not near the rest of the residential stuff. Always one of the best demos. Like it's great content. He does a really good job of what he shows and plays in that room. And I guess maybe 4 or 5 years in a row, Jeff Beck was used in that demo. So it's kind of it's one of those things that I've seen demoed actually kind of on the same system many times, but it's great. It's visually terrible, right? It's an old grainy, I guess it's 1080p, but it's not a film you're watching at all for video content. But there's a great interplay between Jeff and the girl on the bass. Like she's fairly young. I mean, she looks younger than she is. Like you would look at her and think she's like 15, but I'm sure she was like 22, 23 when it was done. But just this young girl that she kind of has these nerves of playing in this hugely iconic venue, and she just absolutely nails it. And it's just this great little bass solo and mixed in with the soft jazz drums. They just nail it. It's a wonderfully simple, and the emotion comes from like the looks, like the little nod, like at the end of her solo when Jeff just looks at her and just gives her a little, yeah, you nailed that. It's 2 or 3 minutes Fortmuller, thank you. Yeah. Oh, with an umlaut. I'm probably saying it wrong. Fine. But Walt, he put that on my radar for sure. It's a great little demo.
And then Mumford and Sons.
Yeah. So this one comes from Christian. So this was filmed live in South Africa. So obviously in our Cape Town office, this is one that is it's probably in every single demo in Cape Town. It hits that local market because it's made there. But it's wonderful. So I'm not even going to attempt to name the people who are singing. There is some local artists have joined, and through the last 4 or 5 songs, different people join in different songs. I'm going to say I'm not even going to attempt it because I'm going to butcher it. But you've got this African music being infused with the song is There Will Be Time. So it's like 75 minutes into that recording in South Africa. As I understand it, that song was only ever released in South Africa. So internationally, they didn't even release it, but they did make it as a song with these local musicians. And it's this great interplay. It, again, isn't visually stunning because it's an older recording, but it's interesting. Like, it's filmed under, I forget what type of lights they are, but they're very orangey. Like, it's very old stadium lighting kind of thing. It's not like this beautiful, crisp, ultra white LED. So there's this like orangey cast to all the coloring. You get pans out of the crowd that's really dark. So there's like this great contrast stuff. And then just as a piece of music, it's great. It's upbeat. It's fun. It's just a really cool tune. I love it.
And then Hans Zimmer, of course. I don't even think we really need to mention anything about Hans Zimmer because
that's an industry favorite, I think, isn't it? So I've put down here Mombasa, which is from Inception. One of the last ones. It's like approaching 3 hours in. It can't be. No, it's 2.5 hours in, give or take. It's 2 or 3 tracks from the end. And that's big. Like, that is, and I've heard that sound. I'm going to be honest. I've heard that sound terrible, really terrible in a lot of rooms because it builds and builds and builds until there is a lot going on. It's loud. It's deep. It's just overwhelming. And if the system can't keep it under control, if the room lets it ring too long, if it just overhangs, if it blooms and bloats, it just loses its rhythm and you just kind of, it falls flat. It just doesn't bring you along. Like, it's that classic, like the pace and the rhythm of it just disappears because it just blurs into this noise.
Mm-hmm.
But when it works, it's fast and dynamic and big and the scale's huge. It's challenging to replay well.
And then the last one that I actually didn't know about until a couple years ago is Imagine Dragons. And I think Imagine Dragons, that's the one I close with. It's not, I mean, as Adam Peltz would say, there's some pieces that aren't even true. They added in post, like the infrasonic stuff, but it adds to the experience, right?
Right.
Imagine Dragons is a culmination of everything that a lot of these demos bring together. It, if done well, makes you feel like you are there, like literally in the audience. And it is a fully immersive experience. The audio mix is great. It's not even HDR, but the visually mix is great. You feel like you are at a concert. And whoever mastered that did an amazing job. It's not the most technically brilliant thing because there are some things, if you really pay attention to it, that don't make a lot of sense, but it's a great piece of content. And to me, it brings everything together and it sends everybody out with that holy shit moment of that was an amazing experience. And you have to decompress after watching because it's super loud. I mean, it is.
You can't watch that at high level and be underwhelmed, right?
No, it's amazing. It is fully overwhelming, but it's immersive. It's a fun experience.
Yeah.
In every sense of the way. So to wrap this up, because we've been going for almost 2 hours, and we probably should have said this at the beginning.
We have one to throw in before we do wrap up because we've missed like the most important musical clip of the lot here. But
all right, go ahead.
We have to talk about the Preacher Boy scene from Sinners.
Oh, how did I miss Sinners? Yes, we do.
You know, this is another one of those films we won't spoil.
Sinners is actually my new wrap up
because
it replaced Radioactive.
If you don't know that it's a horror film going in, or
it's not
horror,
really, it kind of is.
Hey, the reason it won so many Oscars is because it's a horror film where they've done proper character development. It's a proper film that adds some horror. This scene is early. We're talking. Actually, no, it's not early at all. God, it's not early. It's 53 minutes in.
There's a lot of character
early in the film, and that kind of actually is interesting to me because it feels it's before the horror elements kick off, right? It's beautiful. Video. It's wonderful because in so many films that now use variable aspect ratio, it's a sharp, they jump. And actually, this one grows. Like, it's in scope and it gently expands out.
Envy has some issues with this that we're trying to work out, but
yeah, I
know exactly. Mad VR.
Oh, failing because it didn't recognize, or it recognized multiple different aspect ratios as it moved.
Yeah, it tried, right.
Yeah. So this growth of this picture and it's interesting because it was shown many different form factors theatrically. But when you get this immersion of it being scope and it goes into the start of this song and it just grows in scale, it's wonderful. And, you know, we're lucky here because we have height. I mean, we paid an awful lot of money for it, so it's not luck. But we have 3.5 meter tall room. We've got a big screen, a tall screen. So when it grows, that immersion is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just a great track. It's well mixed. It is moving around you. You've got spatial elements. You've got panning. You've got a decent bass line, decent vocal. It's a wonderful scene.
It is. It's one of those that pulls everything from the rest of the content or all of the rest of the demo list together and culminates. And there's actually a journey that goes along with it because it's kind of it's all of the different eras and genres and stuff of music coming together into this one showcase of what music can be. And I really appreciate that. My wife actually strongly dislikes this movie. I enjoyed it. Mainly because I don't know, I guess I'm more open with what I take for my content. Granted, I do this professionally, so I guess I have to be. But I rather enjoyed it, and it's one of my favorite demo scenes out there right now. And I appreciate that it builds. It's not just from the beginning, smack hits you in the face.
Right.
It builds over time and then culminates at the very end and then abruptly ends. So I do appreciate that. But I think we should have said this at the very beginning of what makes a demo scene great. To me, a great demo scene is one that there's a narrative part to it. It's not just showcasing something. You'd like to end them early to make people want more. But if you didn't have the narrative part, you wouldn't be able to do that. So it's a narrative that allows you to be immersed, that you're pulled in. You never want to show a demo scene that doesn't immerse you. You want to be pulled into the content where if you weren't paying attention, and actually when we were calibrating the Mad VR Experience Center multiple times, and I'm sure you guys ran into this, we would go back and check things. Like we went and said, oh, what's the bass like on Fury? And then you'd end up watching 20 minutes of Fury. I'm like, crap, I just wasted a ton of my time.
Very nearly happened this morning. Every one of these clips.
That's exactly what you want. You want to find and be pulled in and immersed and not notice that it's a demo. You want to lose yourself. That's what a proper demo is to me, is losing oneself in the experience and then having to abruptly stop to pull yourself out based on time and move on showcase.
Yeah. And that's interestingly why, for me here, the very best demo would use no demo clips, which is going to sound silly, but my preference would actually be for somebody to come and just sit and watch a whole film, because I can't curate that journey as well as the finest directors do it, right? And I actually want to give someone the experience of test driving what it's like to own a private cinema.
That's fair.
So you're not getting actually the experience of owning one of these things if you sit down for 30 or 60 minutes and get 10 clips thrown at you, 10 5-minute clips, right? With some talking between them. The way to really experience what it's like to live with a system like this is to watch a film.
Yeah.
So our preference would be dinner and a movie, right? You would arrive here, watch bring family, friends, sit and watch a film and enjoy a film. And then we'd have dinner prepared and cooked, and we'd sit and eat dinner together afterwards, which gives you that time to decompress and talk about the film. Like that's one of the things that I love about movies is that social bit after the film of talking about the film.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've just thrown 10 clips at someone, you end up talking about the system and things, right? And what it did and didn't do well. My favorite demo is like really as a giving someone the experience is to watch an entire film.
Yeah.
We sadly don't get that opportunity, right? So and this is where demo clips work really well. Like if you're an enthusiast and you've got friends coming over for the Super Bowl and you want to show how impressive the system is, right? Throw them 2 or 3 of these clips on when they arrive, like bang, immediately they know what you've created. It's that short cut to look at how good this can be without someone giving you 2 hours to sit and watch a film.
Yep. I agree entirely. That's a great wrap up for this. So what's going to happen with this is we still have to culminate some of these and we have some things to add, but we're going to put them in the description so that with timestamps with the start of the scene, not the end. And again, this is going to be based on Kscape, so I can't promise that it's going to match up perfectly, but you'll know, or get you within the ballpark. We're going to put that in the description. It'll probably be later today. I have to take my brother to work, but we'll do that later today. Hopefully you guys got some clips out of this. I know it was a little bit of a departure from the more technical things that we talk about on here. We're going to be back to that on next Monday. I think we had a topic that we were talking about, but we will be back to that. You got anything to wrap up? Anything you want to add?
I'm good. We've not specifically answered all the questions today, but we kind of addressed them as we went. It was more of a chat, right? So
there was a pinned comment. And we can answer this before we go out. On the topic of noise floor, because this came up and I'm sorry, Daniel, if you're long gone, but on the topic of noise floor and dynamics, how much difference does the processor you're making in that regard make in that regard? So would a Marantz AV30 sound just as good as a Marantz AV10? Yes.
Almost identical, if not exactly identical.
I think
so the discussion that we need to have here is about gain structure. And they will have the same gain structure.
They will be.
We'll do a whole episode on gain structure, but there's not going to be a difference in noise.
Here's what I tell people. Unless you're chasing the rabbit and you need something, and even then, you need to look at AVRs and preamps instead of thinking there's going to be an auditory difference, which I guess there can be based on auto EQ and how the room correction is going to work and stuff like that. You need to base it on features. How many channels does it have? How many sub channels does it have? Does it allow for PEQ? If it does, to what levels? All of those different and a bunch of other things. Buy based on the feature set that you need to accomplish what you're trying to set out to do. Do not buy based on some theoretical audio difference. I can tell you, without considering the gain structure, if I listen at a moderate level, even approaching reference, depending on the speakers that I'm attaching it to, if I put something like a Denon AVR X3800H or H3800X against something like a Trinov, in the majority of casings, they're going to sound exactly the same. If I don't put any audio EQ in there and they're just out of the box and I've level matched and stuff like that, you won't hear a difference. Do not buy based on that premise because you're wasting your money. You need to be taking that money and there are obviously caveats with gain structure and stuff, which is why I think we need to talk about it. But take that money and put it into subs or your room.
I was just trying to find the specs on these products to compare them accurately. We'll do a proper episode on game structure. We will make that a topic because it depends on that slightly. Like if you go and buy a Crown amp with low signal to noise ratio and stick it on a Black Swan, then you're going to kill your noise floor because it will hiss. It's like living in a room with snakes.
But I'm
so
simply saying that
wrong.
if you're listening at moderate levels with the same speakers and they're not overtly sensitive, so let's say they're 90 dB sensitive, you're not going to be able to tell. So don't chase that rabbit because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. We'll talk
game
about structure is going to be complicated, so I'll need to prep for that one.
Maybe in the next episode or two. I'll make
cool. Right.
But we'll wrap this up. We do this every Mondays, typically at 8 a.m. Central. What time was it for you? You're 6 hours.
It's now 20 to 5, so I need to walk my dog and wash my car still today.
Wash your car?
Yeah.
I do need to do that, but it's supposed to rain this week. But anyway, we typically do this at 8 a.m. Central, and that was 2 hours ago.
2 p.m. here.
2 p.m. GMT now? Or are we off GMT because
British summertime we're on now?
Okay, so there you go. I think it's GMT +1.
Correct.
Okay, so GMT +1, and I am GMT -5 currently. So 6-hour difference between the two of us is typically when we go live. We try and do these every Monday. We were 30 minutes late because we had to go through. We were going through our demo list. If you guys have any suggestions for topics, please drop them in comments. Do not put them in chat because we won't be able to see them because we don't go back and read chat. Drop them in the comments, and we will potentially use those as future topics going forward. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. If you guys have any demos that you really like, drop them in the comments again. And if we agree, we'll put them in the list. And we will see you guys probably next Monday.
Cheers, guys.
Stay safe. Enjoy that home theater journey. And we'll see you guys.